Hi, I'm Greg Kennedy. Welcome back to my channel. Many of you keep asking this question, is AI overhyped? And I think the answer depends on who you ask. So if you talk to skeptics, and there are many out there, they'll tell you that the hype around generative AI and the revenue potential, it just doesn't justify the investment that's being made into infrastructure. People are overspending because they're competing with each other or because there's a backlog in access and they're just buying more chips than they actually need and they're hoarding them, right? I can see why people are skeptical, and there's lots of questions about whether we're making this investment in this technology and will it ultimately be profitable and will it be useful? Well, I found a Bank of America survey of 150 different global equity researchers that they've put together a report to dive in and try to answer this question. And at the highest level, yeah, these researchers think that AI is going to touch every single aspect of our economy and it's going to be worth the investment. So to answer the question whether AI is overhyped or not, I found this research report from Bank of America analysts that actually dives in and has some very interesting numbers when it comes to trying to answer this question. So this report is actually a survey of Bank of America global research equity analysts and macro strategists. So it's people that are employed by Bank of America who are experts that do research and look into these types of questions. And what I think is most significant from this report is that they note that their analysts find that the enterprise space, a lot of AI projects are going from early pilots into full production. And they believe that full production AI enterprise software will result in a 200 basis point increase over the next 5 years annually in the S&P. So it'll increase the S&P by 2% annually for 5 years. It's a pretty significant gain. And they translate that into $55 billion in cost savings for enterprise. We also know that there will be other use cases for AI and other ways to make money with it. This doesn't account for consumer, perhaps new devices are developed, new services are developed. There's all kinds of ways that it can be monetized. I'm really bullish on translation. I think that'll prove to be a massive business for AI companies. There's a couple of charts I wanted to share in here. This one's really interesting. So here's what they think the implications are by industry. No surprise that software and semiconductors are going to benefit the most from AI. So they'll see boosts to their earnings and to their business over the next 5 years. But other areas like REITs, pretty interesting that's one that they've identified as an area that will benefit significantly from AI. You can see on the right, that is a question asking the analysts what they think the impact will be on jobs. And so they're pretty split on whether it's a positive or negative in terms of job gains. Obviously, this is a really difficult question to answer. A lot of people are concerned, and I think rightly so, that AI might put a lot of people out of work. But for me, I'm an optimist, and I always just think back to the history of capitalism, and we've always had the creative destruction of jobs going away and people finding new jobs. There is pain in that transition, and there is education and there is training that needs to happen in order to make that successful. But as an economy and as a society, we've done it in the past, right? I think the switch from an agrarian society, let's say in the 19th century, to a more industrialized society with factories, pretty big transition, and we made that. One more chart here, which I really like, is this one that just shows the growth of compute power over time. The chart starts at 1995 and ends at 2020. It's just this massive hockey stick up. But this says that from 2015 to 2023, we saw a 3,440% increase in processing power. Incredible. And that is one of the key factors driving the AI revolution, that the concepts, the ideas, the way that people wanted to approach this has been around for some time. Computer labs and scientists in the 80s were doing experiments with this. They just didn't have the compute in order to process the massive amounts of data required to have the type of AI that we see today. There's a lot of innovations and things that happen at places like OpenAI, but one of the big factors was that they were just able to access massive amounts of computer processing power in order to train and run their models across data. I mean, I've even heard estimates that say basically OpenAI is trained on all human data ever recorded. Quite an impressive number. Now, some of you are probably just not convinced. It's one research report from a biased group of analysts who are selling stocks to people and trying to get them to buy Nvidia and AMD and all the chip stocks that they've invested in. Well, there's probably some truth to that analysis. But I think that this is the best paper I've seen in terms of like people putting hard numbers around whether or not the investment that people are making into AI is going to be profitable. And the numbers, in my opinion, are at least believable. They pass the scratch test. Like definitely there is the impact that AI can have on the economy to justify this build out. And the other thing that I'll share is that I think there's a few other things at play in terms of like why there's so much money being spent out on the AI build. I think there's probably military interest, national security interest. There's other reasons that we're scaling out AI at this level. I mean, Microsoft and Google don't just invest in these types of technologies on a whim. I'm sure they have a lot of information, including perhaps even contracts from the Pentagon that are driving this, right? And obviously they can't talk about that publicly. So while for sure in the short term, there's a lot of hype around AI, maybe some stocks are valued more than they should be. But over the long term, I think this report is correct. I think that the impact that AI, generative AI, and that these technologies are going to have on our economy is going to be quite significant. And 10 years from now, the world's going to look like a very different place than it does today.
All right, well, thanks for watching the video. If you want more videos, subscribe to the channel. I am recording these now on a monthly basis. And of course, I'm active on social media. You can find me on X, you can find me on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of content on my website. There's a quarterly research report I do that's posted in there, which you can download for free. And if you want to find my website, it's at www.wearebrandzen.com. Thank you very much.